The ComicLink featured auction underway includes original artwork from two of the most historic comic book series of the 80s, Saga of the Swamp Thing and Watchmen, both written by the ingenious Alan Moore. This is the finale cliffhanger from 1984's Saga of the Swamp Thing, number 23, illustrated by Stephen Bissette and John Totleben. This was a key moment in Moore's first Swamp Thing story arc, in which the newly reborn protagonist confronts Jason Woodrue, the insane villain known as the Floronic Man, who made his debut as the Plant Master back in Atom number 1 in 1962. Swamp Thing is just beginning to understand that he's now a powerful plant elemental and not the transformed human that he previously believed. In two large panels, this page speaks volumes. This artwork showcases emotional facial expressions, intricate cross-hatching, and an extraordinary level of detail. The dynamic duo of Bissette and Totleben were preceded by and influenced by the character's co-creator Bernie Wrightson and EC artist Graham Ingalls, giving the series the feel of an old-school horror comic. The left panel, with its stunning close-up image of Swamp Thing, was used as the cover to Absolute Swamp Thing by Alan Moore, volume number 1, published in 2019. Moore began his run with Saga of the Swamp Thing number 20, which ended with Swamp Thing's death and set up a major alteration to the character. In the following issue, titled The Anatomy Lesson, Woodrue performs an autopsy on Swamp Thing's body. He discovers the creature was never a transformed Alec Holland, but is actually a plant creature that absorbed Holland's consciousness. Learning of his true nature, Swamp Thing exacts revenge on his killer and then takes root in the swamp, while Woodrue goes on a murderous rampage against the humans that exploit the plant world. After Woodrue threatens Abby Holland, Swamp Thing awakens, and on this dramatic finale splash cliffhanger, confronts Woodrue and tells him no more. The combination of the visuals and words sent chills up the spines of readers and helped to establish this new take on Swamp Thing as one of the greatest character innovations in the history of the medium. By the end of their initial arc, it was clear that Moore, Bissette, and Totleben had pulled off the seemingly impossible. It was arguably the best comic book arc ever published at the time. This was the tipping point that moved comic books out of the literary ghetto and into a new age of high-quality stories for adults. Just a few years later, Moore was able to top his own achievement, teaming up with artist Dave Gibbons to produce Watchmen, a 12-issue series that is widely regarded as the greatest comic book ever published. The collected editions have sold over 1 million copies, and the series has been adapted for other media on multiple occasions. Watchmen featured a new group of costumed heroes who exist in a realistic world outside of the traditional DC universe. Constructed like an intricate novel, the story takes place in the present day of the mid-80s with flashbacks to the 40s through the 1970s. There are 6 deeply flawed central characters who first became costume heroes in the 1960s. The two most relatable characters in the story are Night Owl and Silk Spectre. In Watchmen number 7, the two now retired heroes reunite after years for a dinner that leads to their return to action. On this original art page from number 7, Night Owl gives Silk Spectre a tour of his owl's nest, a bat cave-like underground headquarters. He shares background on how he came to be a costumed hero. It ends with Night Owl's observation that operating as a costume vigilante in a realistic world is a messed up endeavor. ComicLink is excited to be bringing this artwork from these historic series to auction. Visit ComicLink.com to bid on these two one-of-a-kind works and much, much more.